Never forget the purpose of why you are here. It is true, in absolute reality, there is no purpose. The universe has no purpose for existing. You have no purpose for existing in absolute reality. But as long as you believe that you are a body or a mind, then your purpose is to become no purpose. You spend your energy becoming nothing, but do not believe you are nothing when you have become nothing. Be honest with yourself. See where you are coming from by the way you react to life situations every day. This will tell you where you are by the way you see yourself reacting to life's predicaments. Life will present to you many predicaments, and it is up to you to see those things in the right perspective. Never be frightened. Never believe anything is wrong. Always to know, even though you believe you are a body, that you are not alone. This is the pure awareness that is with you all the time, just awaiting your recognition, awaiting your understanding that you are not the body. You are a spirit called Atma, Brahman, absolute reality, emptiness, Dharmakaya, Buddha nature. This is who you really are. This is your real nature. You've heard me talk on many occasions on the subject of love, compassion, and humility. These three things are very important to understand. They have to be nurtured and developed. When you understand what love, compassion, and humility really are, at that time, you become the living embodiment of truth. And the self will pull your ego into your heart center, and you will become liberated and free. When I speak of these things, I am referring to my own experience. Therefore, do not take these things I say lightly, even though I tell you many times to not believe a word I say. It sounds like a contradiction, but it is not so. You are not to believe anything I say, yet you are to reflect and ponder on the things I say at this time. Try to become a living embodiment of the highest truth. When I had my spiritual awakening, I was 14 years old. This body was sitting in a classroom taking a math test, and all of a sudden I felt myself expanding. I never left my body, which proves that the body never existed to begin with. I felt the body expanding, and a brilliant light began to come out of my heart. I happened to see light in all directions. I had peripheral vision, and this light was really myself. It was not my body and the light. There were not two. There was this light that became brighter and brighter, the light of 1,000 suns. I thought I would be burnt to a crisp, but alas, I was not. This brilliant light, which I was the center and also the circumference, expanded throughout the universe. I was able to feel the planets, the stars, the galaxies as myself. And this light shone so bright, yet it was beautiful. It was bliss. It was ineffable, indescribable. After a while, the light began to fade away, and there was no darkness. There was just a place between light and darkness, the place beyond light. You can call it the void, but it was not just a void, it was pure awareness. I always talk about. I was aware that I am that I am. I was aware of the whole universe at the same time. There was no time, there was no space, there was just I am. Then everything began to return to normal, so to speak. I was able to feel, to understand, that all the planets, galaxies, the people, the trees, the flowers on this earth, everything was a myriad of energy. And I was in everything. I was the flower, I was the sky, I was the people, I was everything. Everything was the I. The word I encompassed the whole universe. Now, here's the point I'm trying to make. I felt love, a compassion, a humility, all at the same time. That was truly indescribable. It was not a love that you are aware of. Think of something that you really love or someone that you really love with all your heart. Multiply this by a jillion, million, trillion, and you will understand that what I am talking about. This particular love is like no thing that ever existed on this earth consciously. There's nothing you can compare it with. It is beyond duality, beyond concepts, beyond words and thoughts. And since the I, which I was all pervading, there was no other place for anything else to be. There was no room for anything because there was no space and no time. There was just the I am, ever present, self existent. The love of everything was the love of the self. This is why in scriptures it tells you to love your brother and your sister, to love everyone and everything under all circumstances. This love could not be differentiated. It could not say, you are good, so I love you, or you are bad, I do not love you. Everything was going on as myself. Another word for this love was compassion. There was this fabulous, fantastic compassion for everything. For everything was the self, the I am. The self is God within. There was nothing different. There was no me, what you call me, and those kind of things. There was only one expression, and that was consciousness. Of course, I did not understand all these words at this time. There were no words like I am talking to you now. I am trying my best to speak intelligently and try to use words to explain what happened, but I just can't. All the games that people are playing on all the planets throughout the universe are really the self. It was all the self, and I realized that nothing else existed but the self. Yet all these things, the multiplicity of planets, galaxies, of people, of animals, were really this self. Again, there are no words to describe this. I felt and I knew that these things, these multiplicities, do not exist. Things do not exist. Only the self exists. Only consciousness, only pure awareness. Yet at the same time, creation came into existence, and there is no creation. We cannot understand this in human form as long as we are thinking with our brains is incomprehensible. So how can they both be simultaneously existing and creating each other? There was creation going on, and yet there was no creation at all. There was no creation taking place, but creation was taking place. Sounds like the thoughts of a madman, and it seemed normal at the time. There is absolutely nothing strange about this at all, being nothing and being everything at the same time. So this great compassion was there. Since I was everything, the nothing was excluded. For the things were really the self, and compassion was for everything. Then there was a fantastic humility. The love, compassion, and humility are all synonymous. I'm trying to break it down to make you understand to the extent that what was going on. The humility was there not to change anything. Everything was right just the way it was. Planets were exploding, new planets were being born, suns were evaporating, new suns were being born. From the sun, from the suns, the planets came, and then life began on those planes. All of this was taking place instantaneously at the time, and yet nothing was taking place at all. Therefore, the humility is that everything was all right. There was nothing that I had to change, nothing I had to correct. The people dying of cancer were in the right place, and nobody dies, and there is no cancer. Wars, man's inhumanity to man, were all part of it. There cannot be a creation if there is not an opposition to good. In order to have a reaction, there has to be opposites. There has to be a bad guy and a good guy. Well, I was able to understand all this at the time. The next thing I remember is my teacher was shaking me. I was the only one left in class. Everybody else had gone. The bell rang, and I had not even started the math test yet. Of course, I got a big 0, but those feelings and understanding never left me. From that time on, my whole life changed. I was no longer interested in school. I was no longer interested in my friends. I will not go on any more than that for now, as far as that is concerned. The point I'm trying to make is this. If the end result of realization is love, compassion, and humility, what if we were able to develop these qualities now? Do you see what I'm getting at? If we were able to develop this love, this beautiful, joyous love for everything without exception, without being judgmental, you can't have a compassion for one thing and not for another thing. Then, of course, there is humility. Humility means that we do not have to try to straighten things out or to try to get even or even stick up for our rights. For some of us, we're to work on those aspects, but there is really no one left to do that. It would lift us up to make us free. This is something for you to think about. We have to learn to leave the world alone. We become so involved in politics, family life, work, and the rest of these things that we are involved in that we forget that we only have so many years left on this earth in the body. And what are we going to do with all that time we have? We are spending the time on things that do not really exist, things that make no sense. Imagine that you are playing in a theater and you are playing a role and you are playing a part all the time that you're aware that you are playing a part. You are not really that person. It is only a part that you are playing. In the same way, you are now playing a part, but you have forgotten that you are playing a part. You think that your body, the way it looks and the way it appears, what it does, what it acquires is real. And you put all your energy into this game of playing your part. This is indeed a waste of energy. If you would only put your energy into finding the self that you really never lost, you can do this by developing the qualities of love, compassion, and humility. This is another method you have to work on. As you're working on self-inquiry, work on love, work on compassion, work on humility. Do not just practice self-inquiry for a while and then react negatively to the world and have your feelings hurt. Be yourself. Awaken from the dream. Refuse to play any longer. Look at yourself all day long. See the things that you do, the thoughts that you have, the feelings that you have. It makes no difference what situations that you are going through. It makes no difference what is going on in your life. The only thing that matters is what is going on inside of you. Karmically, you are put on this earth as a body to go through karmic experiences. Therefore, to experience you are going through, is part of your Maya or your karma. Do not reflect or dwell on these things. This is important. You have to drop all this, leave it alone. If you only knew nothing can ever happen to you. There never was a time when you were born. There will never be a time when you die. You have always lived. You are consciousness. You have always existed. Identify with this existence. Merge into this existence of nothingness. Leave the world alone. I tell you this again, leave the world alone. Remember what I mean when I say leave the world alone. I'm not saying that you should voluntarily, consciously make a plan of how you're going to leave the world alone. You will not be able to live up to it. By leaving the world alone, I mean entertain in your higher thoughts. Always have in the back of your mind, I am not the body. I am not the doer. I am not the mind. Feel this deeply. Do not feel good or feel bad about it. Do not try to prolong your life. It is a waste of energy. What you call your life will take care of itself. It knows what to do better than you do. We are very limited in our understanding about the body or the affairs of the body, what is going on in the body. Do not try to do anything with your body. Your body will do whatever it came here to do. It knows what to do. Separate yourself from that. Of course, you may be doing this by inquiring, to whom does the body come? Who has this body? And then remain in silence. Many of us here this evening are making tremendous progress. I have been talking to many of you who are really getting there. Of course, I use all these terms loosely. There is nowhere to get, but I have to talk to you this way to remind you to leave yourself alone. I know some of you may be in pain sometimes and say, well, I want to live a life free of pain. Therefore, I have to do things to myself so that I do not feel this pain. This is really a mistake. If you could only realize who has the pain, to whom does this pain come? The I has the pain. But who am I? If I have the pain, it means that the person who is thinking these things does not have the pain. For it is I who has the pain. You are free of pain, for you are not the I thought. Remember, the I thought we are talking about now is the thought that has the pain and experiences being born and experiences dying and experiences having problems. But this I thought is not you. You have to make up your mind that the only thing that matters to you is become free, liberated, and let go of all other things that keep you bound. This is why you have to work with love, compassion, and humility. For if this is the end result of awakening, if you do this first, then awakening will come faster. Even while I'm talking to you, some of you are thinking about your body, you're thinking about your mind, you're thinking about your work. This is what keeps you back. Destroy the thought of self. Become free. Do not fight, do not fear. Observe, watch, look, but have no opinions for or against. Some people think if they act this way, they will not be able to function in the world. You will function. Always remember that is the appearance of the body, and it came here to do certain things and is going to do those things. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. It is interested. I am really talking to myself because there is only the self. So why am I talking to myself? I must be crazy. But times when I talk to you, I have to keep from laughing. Explaining all of these things, talking about all these things, when you are already free and you already know these things. Sometimes we are pulled into the illusion, for there is really no thing. When we talk of God, we are speaking of nothingness. God is no thing, and that no thing is you. We get deeply involved when we study. When we read, we get deeply involved in Maya or illusion. Why can't you be yourself and wake up? Why do you have to go through all these things and make me sit here talking to you like this? Just think of what I could be doing if I did not have to talk to you. Laughter. Laughter. I could be watching Tales from the Crypt or some movie right now instead of talking to you. Everyone laughs. The self is loving compassion and humility. The student asks, Robert, I don't mean to be irreverent, quite the contrary, but you tell us to try to develop these qualities of love, compassion, and humility that you have described as beyond our comprehension. How do we try to develop something that we can't comprehend? Robert's answer, simple, be yourself. When you are yourself, the thoughts come slowly to you until they cease. When the thoughts become slower and slower into your mind and the thoughts begin to disappear, you automatically become loving, compassionate, and develop humility. In other words, the faster you get rid of your thoughts, the faster other things, these other qualities come. So it's a matter of stopping your thoughts. It is the thoughts that see everything in this world as good and bad, right or wrong. And as the thoughts begin to subside, love comes by itself. Compassion and humility come by themselves. So again, we just have to stop thinking. All right, so that's chapter 3 of Silence of the Heart, Robert Adams. I wanted to read that because, look, I've been searching my whole life in spiritual for a good 25 years, even going to India and following a Lama and studying Buddhism and being a born again Christian and all these things that I was trying to be free from my suffering. At the end of the day, at the end result, at age 50, I was listening in July 2022, I was listening to a video of John Wheeler about non-duality. And it just made complete sense. Like there was a revelation that I had written about it. I had talked about it. I intuitively knew about it. But in July 2022, this kind of came to the forefront. It came from my subconscious or my intuition, kind of came into the forefront, where the realization was that I think I'm Kylie because in this body, or this body sees, hears, smells, tastes, and feels. And so there becomes this phenomena of this this Kylie, because there has to be somebody that's seeing. There's got to be somebody that's hearing. There's got to be somebody that's smelling. There's got to be somebody that's tasting. There's got to be somebody that's feeling. So this phenomenon of I-ness or Kylie-ness arises. And so I go through the world thinking, hey, well, Kylie's doing these things and Kylie's living this life and Kylie does this and Kylie doesn't like that and so forth and so on. But it's just a phenomenal arising of the ego structure that is caused in conditions. It's caused by the conditions of the six senses or the five senses. And so it manifests as this Kylie, right? And that's how I navigate the world, from that place of Kylie-ness. Whereas in reality, in the non-duality teachings of every religion, there's non-duality teachings in Christianity, mystic Christianity and Sufism and Buddhism and um, you name it. There's non-duality teachings. You can find them everywhere. At the highest level of Buddhism, at the highest level of all Christian traditions or philosophies, there's the thought of this I-ness, this Kailiness doesn't exist. So it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy that there's this substantial, everlasting I that was born inside this body as a baby and it's going to die or go to heaven or whatever when the body dies. That Kailiness is just an ego structure, once again caused by the five senses. But consciousness does exist. Awareness does exist. The energy of life that expands and contracts is something that we don't know. We call it God. We call it Brahman. We call it Supreme, the Supreme Source. We call it the universe. There is an awareness. There is an existence. There is a consciousness that is real. So whatever it is, whatever this world is, whatever I am, whatever the planets are, whatever death is, whatever life is, it is this supreme source. And so this I that I think I am, this Kailiness, it arises like a bubble in this consciousness, this ever present awareness or energetic energy of the supreme source. This awareness, this consciousness that is looking out of these eyes, hearing from these ears, speaking from this mouth, smelling, feeling, that consciousness is the only reality. And this Kylie is just a construction or a bubble in that ocean of consciousness. And when that bubble pops, the Kyliness will just return to the oceanic presence of this consciousness. It has always been that. Everything that I see, feel, touch, look at is this ocean of consciousness that is manifesting in different forms. And one of the forms is this body. And inside this body, let's just say, is this ego structure of I-ness. And that is just so that this body can navigate in this ocean of existence. So in this ocean of existence, the waves manifest into tables and chairs and lights and computers, and other waves manifest into bodies, and within these bodies, waves manifest into ego structures, and everything seems so separate. But on a second glance, you notice that it is all just the ocean. It is all just the water manifesting as all these different things, including the ego. So if you're interested in getting together in a Zoom group and discussing this book, Silence of the Heart, comment below. I'd be happy to start up a discussion group to discuss non-duality. We did a group called Woke House for years. It's been touch and go in person. We're in San Antonio, and we did Zoom, and we recorded some of the in-person, but because of COVID, we kind of took some time off. And we were going to evaluate whether we wanted to do that group again. But if somebody wants to get together and have a discussion group about this book, Silence of the Heart by Robert Adams, or talk about any non-duality teachings, this is basically where I've come to at the end of a 25-year search of spirituality. praying to external gods, and there was an internal me, this real internal me praying to an external God. And then intuitively, I knew that God was a projection of myself. And I always thought that God was angry. He was jealous. He was going to throw me in hell and all these things. Well, it was that God was very human. And the reason was because it was created by humans. It was created by the egoic self that is jealous and vengeful and mean and nasty. But once you realize that ego is not there, it's just a fiction, then the God disappears that you've been trying to worship. And then there is nothing but the void, emptiness, bliss, joy, awareness, compassion, humility, like Robert was saying, the infinite source. And then when you realize that everything is the infinite source, the only problems that we have in this world is that we believe we are the egoic self. And then the egoic self says, I've been mistreated. I've been harmed. I need to get back at people. I've been bullied. I've been, I want to go to war and take people's resources. I'm angry. I'm getting divorced. I'm going broke. I'm losing my job. I am happy. I got a job. I got a promotion. I got to do this. I got to do that. Anything that you can say, any kind of description of anything that happens to a person or happens in this world, it's happening to the egoic self, which is not real. And so the cause of wars, the cause of killing and murder and rape and destruction, the cause of all the negative things that we perceive in this world as being destructive is the egoic self thinking that it's justified in doing these things. If more people would come to realize that this egoic self is actually a falsehood, a non-reality, then we would realize there's no one to go to war. There's no one to go murder. There's no one to rob. There's no one to hurt. And once we understand that we're not that self, it's not that we would go out and do those things. It's like Robert Adams was saying. Once you realize that you're not a self, and those people out there that you thought were your bullies or your people that were oppressing you, once you realize that they are not what they think that they are, and we will never have been what we thought we were, this egoic self. Once we understand that we are truly the divine source, playing out our parts on this stage, this grand stage, from that, you don't feel like you've been given a license to go out and just do whatever. On the contrary, when you realize that you're a fictitious self, that you can say a non-player character that is being run by a higher intelligence, a divine source, with that feeling or that understanding, there comes a love, a humility, a compassion for all things. And you look out at the world and you see that all things are just manifestations of this higher source. And life is very beautiful. And you don't feel like hurting others or lying to others or doing anything that would harm anything else, And at the same time, like Robert Adams says, there are some karmas, there are some karma or dharma that we've been given when we took on this role that just happened. So, like me, you can sit around and worry about various things, but the body's going to do what is pre-programmed to do. All you have to get up in the morning and do the next right thing, pay my bills and be kind and be humble and be sincere and show up and do what I have to do in front of me. Life works out. I just continue to walk through open doors every day, all day long, month after month, year after year. Situations arise, things happen. But it's just a series of opening doors, just walking through the next open door, and everything takes care of itself. Everything that happens is supposed to happen. Everybody that comes into your life is supposed to be there. And when you're freed from this anxiety and worry and depression and fearfulness, then you can make right decisions, if you are even making those decisions. But it feels like if somebody is toxic, you naturally feel like I need to get away from this person. If the situation is harmful or not good for your spiritual growth, you naturally turn away from it. It's like a flower turns towards the sun. To get the sun, you'll always be turning towards the sun of the supreme source, the sun of the manifest presence of God or universe or love. You'll always be turning towards that source, and you'll be going through all these open doors. This person is toxic. This job is toxic. This group they gossip and backbite and fight, and there's ill feelings here. And you're turning towards the sun of the supreme source like a magnet. You're attracted to it. So you don't have to worry or fear or make all these decisions or lose sleep. If you get fired from one job, you turn towards the sun of the supreme source and get led to the other job. If you need finances, you turn to the sun of the source like a flower, and you're led to finances. Friends, groups, trainings, knowledge, anything, relationships, anything that you need in this life. Once you realize that you're not this small little self and never have been, you were never born and you will never die, then you're just this bubble of awareness in this oceanic consciousness, and you're floating towards the light. Anyway, I'm going to read chapter 2 here or chapter 4 here in a second. Namaste. All right, chapter 4 of Silence of the Heart, Robert Adams. Consciousness. Consciousness is not a thing. You cannot describe it. It is not the opposite of the world. And it is not an object, and there is no seer to see it. Consciousness is another word for being. Being what? Being nothing. Everything is consciousness. Consciousness is love. It is bliss. Everything is consciousness. Everything. When you ask what is consciousness, there is no valid answer. When someone asks me to write a book or give a lecture, then I have to explain consciousness in 50 different words. And each word has another 50 words to explain that. And then those need 100 pages. What does it say? Everything is consciousness. I could have written one page. And in the middle of the page, I say everything is consciousness. And the rest would be blank. This is the reason that I do not write books, because there's nothing to say. See how confusing it is? You read so many books during the week. Usually you do not remember what you read. And if you do, it's all intellectual. You are using somebody else's words and not having your own experience. I do not know what consciousness is, but I am that. If I knew what consciousness was, it would not be that, because I would not be voicing a word. And the word would be limited by the very voicing of the word. So consciousness is no thing. It is nothing that you can describe. It is nothing you can write a book about. Consciousness is silence. Sometimes I am saying consciousness is absolute reality, which is more words. And I have to explain what absolute reality is. Consciousness is ultimate oneness, pure intelligence. Consciousness is all of those things. But what are those things? Again, they are just words. Sometimes I say consciousness is love, it is bliss, it is Sat Chit Ananda, it is knowledge, it is existence. These are all just words, and you get a good feeling for words, but the feeling doesn't last too long. So you have not digested the words and have not become a living embodiment of consciousness. I am referring to your real self. You are an asset to the human race, an asset to yourself, an asset to God. You are a wonderful person just the way you are. Just the way you are. You do not judge by appearances. You do not even judge yourself. You are a beautiful person just the way you are. When I say just the way you are, I am referring to the real self, to that consciousness. You are beautiful just the way you are, not what you think you are, not what you appear to be, not what the world shows you, but just the way you are right now. Stand up tall. Do not be afraid any longer. There is nothing that can hurt you. There is nothing in this world that can actually do anything to you. You are free. You are a substratum of all existence. Everything is an image of consciousness. The whole universe, all the planets, all the galaxies are all images of consciousness, and you are that consciousness. Know yourself and be free. There is only one way to bring peace to this world. There is only one way to bring peace to yourself. There is only one way to overcome problems. There is only one way to find yourself, and that way is to realize that everything is consciousness. What do I mean by that? Take everything in this room, the glass, the lamp, the chair, the couch, the rug, the light, your body. They are not real, for they are consciousness. I am not saying that consciousness has produced these things. I am not saying saying that first there is consciousness and these things come out of consciousness. On the contrary, I am saying that everything that appears to arise, that when you hear with your ears and you taste with your mouth and you feel with your hands, that is consciousness. You are not what you appear to be. Bliss is your real nature. There is a substratum of existence called consciousness. Another name for this consciousness is bliss. It is all pervading. As you begin to merge with it, it becomes you. It is your real nature. It is self-contained. The world, the universe did not come out of it. I will repeat that. There are teachings that tell you that the world is a modification of consciousness and that we have to return to consciousness. But there is nothing to return to. Consciousness is pure awareness. It is aware of itself as absolute reality. The world is like a reflection in a mirror. Where did the reflection come from? From nowhere, because it does not really exist. You cannot try to grab the image of the mirror, for you grab the mirror. When you awaken, you understand that you are the mirror, and the reflection of the world is like the water in the mirage, like the snake and the rope, like the sky is blue. Why does this happen? It does not. It appears to happen. Why does it appear to happen? It does not. The appearance appears to happen. Why does the appearance appear to happen? It doesn't. It appears to happen. And we can go on like this all night. It is difficult for a human mind to grasp that you are not what you appear to be. It is not what it appears to be. It is not duality. Remember what I'm trying to convey. There is not consciousness in the world. There is only consciousness. And you are that. It's a paradox, a contradiction. You are that paradox. You are that contradiction. You are not what you appear to be. You are not what you see. Nothing in this world, in this universe, is as it appears to be. Consciousness, the screen of reality. Now, what is consciousness? We can say that consciousness is a power that knows itself. It is self-contained absolute reality. In other words, there is nothing but consciousness. There is not consciousness in you or consciousness in the world. There is only consciousness. Consciousness, you may say, is the screen of reality. And all the images of the whole universe are superimposed on this screen of reality. When you go to a movie, you begin to watch the picture show. The screen is covered with images. You forget all about the screen. You do not think of the screen any longer. You are looking at the images. You identify with images and you enjoy the movie. The screen is far away from you. Yet if you try to grab the images, what do you grab? You grab the screen, not the images. The images never existed, and you will grab the screen. So it is with us. We forget that we are superimpositions on the screen of life, and we're really the screen, which is consciousness. We believe through many incarnations that we are these images, that we are these people, we are others, and there are others. There are external things that make up the world. But I say to you, these things are false. The images are like water in a mirage, like the snake in a rope, like the sky is blue. Yet there is no sky, there is no blue. And when you find out that the snake was really the rope, it will never frighten you again. When you try to chase the water in the mirage, you become disappointed, you grab sand. In other words, they are optical illusions. This universe, my friend, is an optical illusion. It is a dream. Just when you are dreaming, no one can ever tell you that the dream is a dream so long as you are dreaming. You will always stick up for your rights and say, this is not a dream. Look, there are riots going on in Los Angeles. There's fires burning. People are being killed. How can you tell me this is all a dream? Yet you awaken from your dream and the dream never existed. It came out of you and returned to you. Now ponder this. The dream emanated from you. It externalized itself from you. The dream was not limited at all, was it? You did not dream that you were just in one place. You dreamt the whole universe. All kinds of things took place. You took an airplane ride to Africa. You went to Belgium. You visited the Congo. You were a little boy. You grew up a little girl, and then you grew up. All this was in your dream. And again, you will fight for your dream. You will stick up for your rights in your dream. You will even kill in the dream. Yet when you awaken, the dream is gone. The dream never existed. I can assure you, my friends, that there will be a day in your life when you awaken to the truth. This world which we live in is the same thing. There is absolutely no difference. You are living the mortal dream. Consequently, sages have told us we have to identify with consciousness, the absolute reality, not what's going on the screen. The only freedom we have got is not to react to anything, but to turn within and know the truth. But how can this be? We look at each other, we see the things of the world, we feel pain, we feel sorrow, we feel happiness, we feel joy, and yet I am saying to you that these things do not exist. There is only consciousness. You can only know this when you experience it. So you are saying, this is good for you, Robert. Well, what about me? I feel the world. I get hurt easily. I'm sensitive. Things bother me. I see man's inhumanity in this world and I cry. I perceive all of these dastardly things going on in the world and it makes me sad. How can you say that these things do not exist? How can you say there is only consciousness? When all these things do not exist, how can you say there is only consciousness when all these things face me every day? That's just it. You have to be ready to turn away from the worldly things. You have to be prepared to jump within yourself, to dive deep within yourself, and to sort of ignore the world for a while. This does not mean that you have to give up anything. It means that while you are going through your daily chores, while you are doing your work in this world, you simply have to become aware every once in a while that everything is just consciousness. Just by being aware of these things that I'm talking about, you awaken, you become free. Just by being aware, by thinking to yourself when you get up in the morning, everything appears real to me, but it is all consciousness. Everything is consciousness.